Hello, and welcome to today's exploration of Stoic resilience, how we can draw upon the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus to strengthen our inner fortitude in the face of life's toughest trials. I'm a Stoic warrior, and over the next hour, we'll journey together into the heart of Stoic philosophy, unpacking practical strategies and compelling anecdotes that you can apply immediately when confronting stress, loss, uncertainty, or any challenge that shakes your equilibrium. Why focus on resilience? Because adversity is not a possibility in life, it's a certainty. Yet, within that certainty lies an opportunity, the chance to cultivate a mind that remains calm and clear, a spirit that remains unbroken, and a life guided by purpose rather than panic. Imagine meeting each day's difficulties with a steady resolve, learning from them rather than being overwhelmed. That's the promise of Stoicism, and it begins with strengthening resilience from within. So settle in, take a deep breath, and let's embark on this journey of inner empowerment together. Part 1. Defining resilience through a Stoic lens. What, then, is resilience when seen through the Stoic eye? It is far more than simply gritting your teeth in the face of adversity. True Stoic resilience is an inner mastery, a deliberate training of the mind to remain unshaken as life's tempests swirl around us. Marcus Aurelius, writing in the solitude of his tent amid war and plague, reminds himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Pause for a moment and feel the weight of those words. What would it mean for you to embrace that sovereignty over your thoughts? Seneca extends this vision. Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. In this counsel lies a potent invitation. Each morning, reset your perspective. Acknowledge that resilience is a choice we renew daily. When disappointment makes your heart race, ask yourself, which judgment gave birth to this fear? By inquiring of our impulses, why does this situation disturb me? We reclaim authority over our emotional responses. Epictetus, who endured the cruelty of slavery and physical suffering, distilled resilience into a simple yet profound practice. Focus only on what is within your control. He taught, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Imagine an archer. He can control his aim, but never the wind. In life's challenges, you are that archer. You cannot command every gust of fortune, yet you can steady your bow, tighten your grip, and adjust your stance. Each obstacle, then, becomes a training ground for inner calm and disciplined action. Now, turn inward for a moment. Think of the last time life shook you, perhaps a conflict with a loved one, a sudden career setback, or an unexpected illness. What part of that storm lay within your control, and what part did not? By clearly distinguishing the two, you draw boundaries around your sphere of influence and liberate your mind from the tyranny of fruitless worry. Finally, note that Stoic resilience is inextricably linked to compassion. As Marcus Aurelius counsels, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. In cultivating our steadiness, we inadvertently become pillars of support for others. Our inner citadel provides not only shelter for ourselves, but also a place where empathy and wisdom can flourish. In embracing these insights, remember, resilience is not a fixed trait, but a living practice. It is the daily affirmation that, whatever life brings, your mind can remain your steadfast companion, and through it, you discover a strength that no external adversity can ever truly conquer. Part 2. The Dichotomy of Control. At the heart of Stoic resilience lies the profound teaching known as the dichotomy of control, the art of drawing a clear line between what we can influence and what we cannot. Epictetus, who once endured the bondage of slavery and the pain of cruel treatment, captured this truth in a single, powerful sentence. Some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. Let that sink in for a moment. When chaos erupts in your life, how often do you expend your precious energy wrestling with forces beyond your reach? Imagine you arrive at an airport only to discover your flight has been canceled. You cannot will the airline to change its policy, nor can you will the weather to clear. Yet, you do have command over one vital domain, your mind. Will you surrender to bitterness and anxiety, or will you choose equanimity and resourcefulness? As Marcus Aurelius reminds himself amid the clamorous duties of an emperor, If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. What estimate are you giving right now? Seneca adds another layer. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. How many times have you agonized over outcomes that never materialized? By repeatedly asking yourself, is this within my power, you begin to dismantle the tyranny of imagined fears. This question becomes a lifeline, calling you back from the whirlpool of rumination to the solid ground of purposeful action. Let us pause. Reflect on a recent trial that shook you, an unexpected argument, a financial setback, a health scare. Which part of that ordeal lay squarely within your control, and which part did not? By making this distinction, you draw a clear boundary. Within it lies your responsibility. Beyond it, you grant yourself the freedom to let go. Epictetus's metaphor of the archer is illuminating. You cannot command the wind, but you can steady your bow, draw the string with focus, and release the arrow with intention. In life's storms, you are that archer. The winds of circumstance may buffet you, but you choose how tightly to grip your bow and where to aim your resolve. Notice, too, the emotional relief this practice brings. When you cease struggling against what is immutable, time's passage, others' choices, random misfortune, you conserve your inner strength for what truly matters, choosing a calm, deliberate response. As Marcus Aurelius so simply advises, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. So today, ask yourself whenever you feel overwhelmed, what is up to me in this moment? Let this question guide your thoughts. Let it transform obstacles into pathways for growth. In doing so, you will discover that resilience is not a passive endurance, but an active cultivation of clarity and courage, rooted always in the one realm you truly command, your mind. Part 3. Building your inner fortress. How do we transform our minds into unshakable citadels, capable of withstanding the fiercest storms? The Stoics teach that this fortress is not built overnight, but through deliberate, daily exercises of the soul. Seneca offers us a blueprint when he writes, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Ask yourself, when was the last time you welcomed a challenge as an opportunity to fortify your spirit? One foundational practice is premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Marcus Aurelius himself engaged in this exercise each dawn, envisioning potential trials, a betrayal by a friend, a sudden loss, the weight of illness. He consoled himself with the reminder, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. By voluntarily imagining hardship, we remove its power to surprise and destabilize us. Try this now. Picture a setback you dread. Notice the emotions it triggers. Then remind yourself, I can endure this. Each repetition layers another stone in your mental ramparts. Seneca also urges periodic self-examination. Every night before you go to sleep, ask yourself, what weakness did I overcome today? What virtue did I acquire? In doing so, you chart your progress, however small, and gather ammunition against self-doubt. Which doubts have you quelled recently? A fear of failure, a pang of envy? Recognize them and celebrate your triumph. For resilience is built one conquered fear at a time. Epictetus, whose own leg was broken under the lash of a cruel master, distilled inner strength to a single principle, discipline of assent. He taught, don't let your impression become your judgment. In practice, this means pausing between stimulus and response. When confronted with painful news or harsh criticism, inhale deeply. Observe the raw sensation, then choose your verdict. Does this event warrant despair, or can you reframe it as a lesson? Every moment of restraint tightens the mortar holding your fortress walls. Imagine, too, incorporating voluntary hardship into your routine, fasting from comforts. 2. Remind yourself that true security lies not in externals but in character. Perhaps skip a meal by choice, step into a cold shower, or switch off your phone for an hour. In these small acts, you train your mind to endure. When life later demands more, a sudden loss or an unexpected crisis, you'll recall your commitment. I chose discomfort. I can bear this. Finally, anchor your fortress with community. Even the sturdiest walls benefit from mutual support. Share your Stoic reflections with a friend or mentor. As Marcus Aurelius writes, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. By voicing your journey, you not only deepen your resilience, but also inspire others to build their inner strongholds. In these ways, through visualization of adversity, nightly self-audit, disciplined ascent, voluntary hardship, and communal reflection, you sculpt an inner fortress within its walls. You find the serenity to face external chaos with calm determination and the clarity to act with unwavering purpose. Part 4. Shifting perspective and reframing. How often do we find ourselves imprisoned by our judgments, taking a small setback and magnifying it until it towers over our entire day? The Stoics teach us that true freedom lies in the art of reframing, turning obstacles into opportunities and disappointment into direction. Marcus Aurelius himself confronts this daily. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Ask yourself, when you encounter a roadblock, do you curse your fate, or do you inquire, how can this detour serve me? Reframing begins with awareness. Seneca warns, nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company. In other words, before we can alter our perspective, we must witness our unhelpful narratives, our assumptions that this shouldn't be happening, or I can't cope. Pause, breathe, and observe. What story are you telling yourself? Right now, is it a story of helplessness, or could it be one of possibility? Epictetus offers a guiding principle. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. Picture two travelers caught in a sudden storm. One rages against the rain, soaked and miserable. The other lifts her face to the sky, marveling at its fierceness, teaching her patience and resilience. Which traveler will remember the storm with regret, and which will recall it as a teacher? You too have the power to choose your traveler's stance, condemnation or curiosity. Consider a moment this week when you felt frustrated, perhaps a project stalled, a conversation turned sour, or plans derailed. Close your eyes and revisit it. What emotions surfaced first? Now reframe. Imagine that very frustration as a signpost pointing toward what truly matters. If a partnership falters, maybe it reveals misaligned values, demanding honest conversation. If traffic delays your commute, perhaps it gives you extra minutes to ground yourself in gratitude. This shift is not mere positive thinking, it is rigorous Stoic practice. It demands that we interrogate our knee-jerk reactions. What assumptions am I making? What alternative interpretations exist? In that space of inquiry, liberation arises. When Marcus Aurelius warns himself against bitterness, he reminds himself that we all share the same nature, to love only what happens, what was destined. No greater harmony. In loving even the trials, we co-create harmony with the universe's flow. So the next time life hands you an unexpected twist, don't ask why me. Instead, whisper, what gift lies hidden within? By intentionally reframing your experience, you transform barriers into bridges, and in doing so, you awaken the Stoic within, unyielding, clear-eyed, and profoundly at peace. Part 5. The power of voluntary discomfort. What if I told you that seeking out small hardships could be the very key to unlocking unbreakable strength? This is the paradox at the heart of Stoic practice. By choosing discomfort, we inoculate ourselves against the unexpected blows of fate. Seneca challenges us directly. Difficulties show men what they are. Ask yourself if you willingly subject yourself to minor trials, what truths about your character might emerge. Marcus Aurelius, who faced plague, war, and personal sorrow, raises the bar even higher. If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your judgment of them, and it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. What better way to dismantle unhelpful judgments than to place ourselves deliberately outside our comfort zone? A cold plunge upon waking, a day without your phone, a simple fast from food or digital distractions. These are not self-punishments, but Stoic tools. They whisper to our minds, see how little you need to feel content. Consider Epictetus, the one-legged slave who transcended his torment to become a celebrated teacher. He proclaimed, it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. Voluntary hardship offers a rehearsal for real suffering. When you embrace a cold shower, you feel the initial shock in your bones. You take a breath, steady your mind, and decide, I will endure. That choice becomes a neural pathway to fortitude. Later, when life's genuine storms arise, a bereavement, a financial crisis, you will remember that you once stood calmly in icy water by choice. You will recall, I endured, I can endure again. Let us pause. What small discomfort could you integrate today? Could you skip your afternoon snack and notice how cravings pass like clouds? Could you walk outside barefoot on grass, reminding your body and mind of the rawness of existence? In these moments, you aren't punishing yourself, you're forging resilience. Like a blacksmith hammering steel, emotionally, voluntary discomfort reconnects us to gratitude. After a cold shower, the warmth of a towel feels luxurious. After a digital fast, a friend's text carries fresh delight. This contrast sharpens our appreciation for life's simple blessings. Seneca envisions this like seasoning. Fire tests gold, suffering tests brave men. Every chosen trial seasons our souls, making them resilient to future flames. By weaving voluntary discomfort into your routine, whether through fasting, silence, physical challenge, or solitude, you cultivate an inner warrior. You send a clear message to your psyche. I am the master of my preferences. I choose what touches my spirit. And in that self-command, you uncover the Stoic promise that no external adversity can ever wrest from you the serenity you have claimed by choice. Part 6. Stories from the Stoics. Let us draw near the living flame of Stoic example, where words become deeds carved into history. Marcus Aurelius, crowned emperor of Rome yet humbled by grief, penned his meditations beside the roar of battle and the ache of loss. He confesses, "My nature was for living with men, and I do not endure solitude well." Yet in those solitary reflections, he discovered resilience not in crowds, but in reason. Imagine him, quill in hand, forging calm within chaos. What inner dialogue might you craft today when external noise threatens your peace? Turn your gaze to Seneca, exiled from Rome by decree of Emperor Claudius, banished to a windswept island, where luxury was stripped away. Far from succumbing to bitterness, he wrote, "I begin to speak only when I am certain what I will say is not better left unsaid." In isolation, he found clarity. When you feel cast out by disappointment or by circumstance, might you, like Seneca, withdraw briefly within, refining your purpose before speaking to the world again? And consider Epictetus, whose very flesh bore the lash of a cruel master and the weight of a broken leg. Yet he proclaimed, "It's not events that disturb people, it's their judgments concerning them." Picture him hobbling across crowded streets of Rome, teaching that true freedom lies beyond the prison of the body and the mind that refuses to be enslaved. What chains bind you now? Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and how could you break them with a shift in judgment? These stories are not distant myths but living mirrors. Marcus, facing plague in the Danubian frontier, reminded himself daily, don't hanker after what you don't have. Instead, fix your attentions on the finest and best that you have, and imagine how much you would long for these if they weren't in your possession. When loss finds you of health, of wealth, of relationship, pause to count what remains. Seneca's suicide ordered by Nero became his final lesson. Even at the threshold of death, he chose calm reason over panic. As he laid down his life, he declared, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" Let this question echo in your soul whenever you put off courage. Why delay living by virtue? By your highest self. Epictetus, banned from teaching philosophy in public by Emperor Domitian, set up a school in his small home. He taught that adversity is not a roadblock, but the very substance of a Stoic's classroom. Lean into your constraints, time, resources, health, not as barriers, but as the domain in which your resilience must grow. In these lives, emperor and exile, slave and sage, you see resilience incarnate. Their struggles become guiding stars. Whenever you face hardship, ask yourself, what would Marcus, Seneca, or Epictetus choose here? In that moment of inquiry, you step into their company, and your own story of strength begins to unfold. Part 7. Applying resilience in modern life. In our fast-paced world, it can feel as though we're constantly reacting, chasing deadlines, fielding notifications, and scrambling to keep up. Stoicism invites us to reclaim our center in the eye of that digital storm. Marcus Aurelius counsels, Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break. It stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. Imagine yourself as that cliff today. How would you anchor your mind so that the next barrage of emails, traffic jams, or relationship strains cannot erode your peace? First, translate the dichotomy of control into everyday decisions. When Sarah, a marketing manager, discovered her campaign results fell short, she could have spiraled into blame or despair. Instead, she paused, asking herself, "What is truly mine to influence?" She focused on refining her strategy and fostering better communication with her team elements within her power, while releasing attachment to the outcome. As Epictetus teaches, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. By embodying calm, Sarah not only regained clarity, but also inspired confidence in her colleagues. Next, weave premeditatio malorum into your routine. Before a big presentation or an important conversation, quietly imagine things going wrong. The projector fails, the feedback is harsh, the timing falters. Then ask, if this happens, how will I respond? By envisioning and rehearsing these scenarios, you build mental muscle memory. Seneca wrote, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." You, too, can disarm anxiety by meeting fear on your terms before it ever surprises you. Reframing remains equally crucial. When John's small business suffered a sudden downturn, he could have labeled it a catastrophe. Instead, he applied Marcus's insight: the impediment to action advances action. He reframed the setback as a necessary reset and opportunity to pivot his offerings and explore new markets. This intentional shift in perspective transformed stress into creative fuel, illustrating that adversity, properly interpreted, becomes the spark of innovation. Finally, practice voluntary discomfort in ways that suit your context. If you're a busy professional, schedule an hour each week offline, no screens, no social media. If you work from home, take your next meeting standing up or in the park. These small experiments remind you that comfort is not the default of life. Instead, your well-being depends on the inner controls you maintain. So today, pause and ask, what modern challenge has unsettled you? Overwhelming email, a fractured relationship, an unexpected expense? Identify exactly which elements lie within your control: your response, your priorities, your perspective. Then choose one Stoic tool. Focus on what's up to you. Imagine the worst case and plan for it, or embrace a brief voluntary hardship and apply it immediately. In this way, you'll discover that resilience isn't relegated to ancient texts. It's a living practice you can embody at every moment, transforming the chaos of modern life into a crucible for enduring strength. Part 8. Cultivating Daily Resilience Practices. Resilience is not a lofty ideal reserved for crises. It is a daily craft we hone with habitual care. As Marcus Aurelius counsels, don't let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Break it down into little pieces. In these little pieces lie our practices, small yet mighty, that shape a steadfast mind. Ask yourself, what single act today can cement my resolve for tomorrow? Begin each morning with a brief Stoic meditation. Before the bustle begins, sit quietly and recall Seneca's wisdom. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Breathe deeply and note one challenge you might face. It could be a tense meeting, a difficult conversation, or even the pull of distraction. Then mentally rehearse your response: what calm words you might speak, what steady breaths you might take. The simple act of premeditatio malorum transforms tomorrow's unknowns into familiar territory, anchoring your spirit in readiness throughout your day. Practice the discipline of assent. As Epictetus taught, when a negative thought or sudden frustration arises, I'm stuck in traffic, my emails keep piling up, pause before you agree with it. Challenge it gently. Is this thought serving me or simply fueling agitation? By choosing which impressions to admit and which to dismiss, you build an inner filter that preserves your clarity and emotional bandwidth. In the afternoon, carve out a moment for voluntary discomfort. 10. Exercise in controlled hardship. That reminds you of your intrinsic strength. Perhaps you'll refrain from that habitual coffee refill, or take your next 5 minutes in silent contemplation rather than in front of a screen. As Seneca affirms, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. When the initial impulse to reach for comfort arises, greet it with curiosity. What does this craving reveal? In resisting it, you deepen your trust in your resilience. As evening falls, engage in a reflective journal practice, asking the Stoic questions. What did I do well today? And where did I fall short? Marcus Aurelius reminds himself, if you do good, you'll have a good memory. If you do evil, you'll have a bad one. Celebrate each virtuous choice: patience in traffic, generosity in conversation, composure under pressure, so that these small triumphs become the building blocks of a resilient self-image. Finally, nurture your resilience within the community. Share one insight or challenge with a friend or fellow seeker. Epictetus held that teaching is itself an act of learning. By teaching, we learn. In voicing your daily practice, your morning meditation, your silent pause, your journal reflection, you reinforce your commitment and inspire another's journey. Through these daily rituals: morning premeditation, mindful ascent, voluntary, discomfort, evening reflection, and communal sharing, you weave resilience into the very texture of your life. Each practice is a thread of intention, creating a tapestry of inner strength that holds steady, no matter how fierce the winds of circumstance may blow. Part 9. Embracing community and compassion. No Stoic stands alone. Our inner strength flourishes most brightly when shared in fellowship. Marcus Aurelius reminds himself and us that we were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. Ask yourself, when was the last time you reached out to another in genuine empathy, rather than passing judgment? In strengthening our resilience, we build pillars that support others and, in turn, gather reinforcement for ourselves. Seneca challenges us further. Wherever there is a human being, there's an opportunity for kindness. Compassion is not a luxury of the soft, it is a Stoic duty. When a colleague stumbles under pressure, do you sigh in impatience or offer a steadying word? When a friend shares their burdens, do you listen with distracted half attention, or do you lean in, heart poised in silent solidarity? These moments of connection echo far beyond the instant. They weave a web of mutual resilience. Epictetus taught that each of us is but one voice in a larger chorus. He exhorted, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Picture a community gathering. Each person brings their trial, their own story. What if, instead of demanding perfection from them, you first offer understanding, recognizing the universality of struggle? By extending compassion outward, you mirror inward the calm you cultivate through Stoic practice. Reflect now, who in your life yearns for a listening ear, a helping hand, or simply a moment of your undivided attention? By serving their needs, without expectation of reward, you honor the Stoic principle that virtue is its reward. In doing so, you reinforce your inner citadel. Each act of kindness becomes another stone in its walls. But beware, compassion must be balanced with wisdom. Marcus cautions, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Compassion does not mean sacrificing your well-being to the point of burnout. Instead, it calls for measured generosity, a helping hand that springs from renewal, not depletion. Imagine a network of Stoic companions. Each morning, you share a brief insight on resilience. Each evening, you listen to another's reflection. Seneca would applaud this dialogue, for he believed that as long as you live, keep learning how to live. In teaching and caring for one another, we refine our practice, ultimately embracing community and compassion transforms private fortitude into collective strength. When you treat another's suffering as your own, you honor the Stoic ideal that we are all citizens of a single, interconnected cosmos. So today, reach out, offer genuine kindness, ask, how can I serve you? In that question lies the Stoics' greatest power, the realization that by uplifting others, we fortify our souls, and together, we become unshakable. As we draw to a close, let's revisit our journey. We began by defining resilience not as indifference, but as mastery over our responses. We embraced the dichotomy of control, built inner fortresses through premeditation of hardship, and learned to reframe obstacles into opportunities. We practiced voluntary discomfort, drew inspiration from the lived experiences of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, and applied these lessons in modern settings. We outlined daily habits to cultivate lasting resilience and underscored the importance of a compassionate community. Now, I invite you to take one action this week. Choose a small voluntary discomfort, a cold shower, a brief digital fast, or a 10-minute reflection on a feared challenge, and observe how it strengthens your resolve. Share your experience in the comments below. How did it feel? What did you learn? Your insights might inspire someone else on their path to resilience. Thank you for joining me today on this exploration of Stoic resilience. May you face life's adversities with calm courage. May your spirit remain unshaken. And may you find in every challenge the seed of your growth. If you found value in this discussion, please like, subscribe, and share with anyone who might benefit. Until next time, stand firm, hold fast to reason, and remember, you have power over your mind, and within that power lies your greatest strength. Farewell.